Things are looking really bleak for Xbox. If you haven't heard all the news recently, you're probably missing out on one of the most dramatic shakeups in a really long time. Just to drop the hammer right away, Microsoft is cutting 9,000 jobs. And let me tell you, this isn't some slight organizational trimming or anything. This is kind of a dumpster fire. So, today we're going to be talking about the whole situation and asking ourselves if we are truly watching the downfall of Xbox right now. Let's start with the numbers because we need to grasp the scale. So, Microsoft announced earlier this week that they're cutting around 9,000 employees globally, which translates to about 4% of their entire workforce, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, but let me just tell you, to have 4% of your workforce cut in a single day, that is a lot. This comes right after some earlier layoffs back in May as well, and even more earlier on this year. So we're looking at like around 15,000 layoffs just halfway through 2025 alone. So this isn't just like a one-time occurrence, but it seems like it's becoming a trend. But where it really hurts Microsoft is the game studios. Of course, that's why I'm here talking about it in a video. You have Raven, King, ZeniMax, etc. They all significantly reduced their staff and actually canceled projects and games, and in some cases closed down entire studios. And for a more specific example, all the Forza Motorsport fans look away. Turn 10, who are the makers of Forza Motorsport, had more than 70 people cut, which might be up to 50% of their entire team. Then we hit some of the big ones here. Rare's long anticipated Everwild, which has been over a decade in development, was officially canceled, and then The Initiative, which is a new studio behind the Perfect Dark reboot, they have been completely shut down as well, and the game itself, Perfect Dark, is also gone forever. So we're looking at people losing their jobs, games being canceled, studios being shut down. These are events that are never a good indicator of what's to come. And it's not just the studios closing or games being canceled. ZeniMax, who are the Elder Scrolls developers, they had to cancel an unannounced MMO codenamed Blackbird, and the studio founder even left after nearly 2 decades. So even games that we didn't know were coming were also canceled, and the founders of these studios themselves are also jumping ship. Even the Xbox user research and the child safety team or something like that also got hammered. Nearly half of the team is gone, so I have no idea what is going on there, but it feels really, really off. Phil Spencer, who is Xbox's head honcho, of course, he released an internal memo to the company saying that they are removing layers of management, increasing agility, and focusing on areas with greatest potential, which is just classic corporate BS. And I get it, Microsoft is intent on doubling down on AI and cloud. Analysts say that their new $80 billion AI investment infrastructure means that they need to reallocate resources, and I get that, but still, when that reallocation involves ditching entire games and studios, at the least, the fans, the consumers want answers to that, and so far, we're not hearing a whole lot more than just that they're focused on Game Pass, cloud gaming, and, strategic franchises. Xbox has already been compared unfavorably to Sony or even Nintendo in terms of handling studios after acquisitions, and these latest moves are definitely, not looking very good for them. They're just adding to that narrative. And let's not forget some of Microsoft's recent history with acquisitions. It's been a big, half a decade for them. You had Activision for $68 billion in 2023, ZeniMax and Bethesda in 2021 for like $8 billion. Maybe they expanded too much and too quickly considering how much mismanagement is going on here. You had Tango Gameworks was closed down, Arcane Austin closed down, now they folded The Initiative and Rare's flagship, like how I said. It kind of just feels like deja vu. But it's not all complete doom. I mean, Xbox's current business is actually doing well. I guess Microsoft. Game Pass subscriptions and engagement are booming. Overall revenue is up despite the hardware, the console revenue being down, which is confusing to me because with the amount of moves they're making, you would think that they were in panic mode financially, but they're actually doing pretty okay. It might be a bit dramatic to say that this is a downfall considering that they are performing well financially, But this is, at the very least, one of the largest shakeups in gaming, in at least the past decade. And Xbox can't keep leaning on Game Pass and exclusives or whatever else. They need studios and long term IP development, especially in an industry dominated by narrative driven exclusives from Sony. Microsoft is in just such a weird spot right now. We all know about the announcement of the handheld Xbox Ally, as well as the rumors floating around with the next gen console coming out in the next couple of years. So, how do these layoffs and studio moves impact these really big releases on the horizon for the company? On the surface, they don't really impact it. In fact, it almost feels like Microsoft is doubling down on infrastructure and accessibility. They're not investing in bold exclusives or flagship hardware like Sony or Nintendo. They're investing in making Xbox everywhere. That's kind of their new value proposition that they're going for, which leads to kind of a weird identity crisis. Like, what is Xbox right now? Are they a console brand, a service, a launcher? Because for fans, that stuff matters. If the next gen console is just a cloud ready device that runs Xbox apps, does that really feel like Xbox? Because if that was the case, all else held constant, I would probably buy the next gen PlayStation instead of the Xbox. And I've been an Xbox person for my whole life, so I'm not really sure what direction they're heading in there. And hey, maybe that's fine. Maybe they prove me wrong. Maybe Xbox becomes the best ecosystem out there with your whole play anything, anywhere with one subscription. But let's not kid ourselves, because ecosystems are only as strong as the content actually inside them. So if Xbox keeps trimming away at its creative heart by laying off all of these employees at their studios, none of it really matters. And I think that they would lose a very large market share to Sony. And the last thing I'll bring up, I actually mentioned it a little bit, but Microsoft is going hard on AI right now. They're pretty much integrating everything from Azure to Office to, of course, gaming. And yeah, I get it. AI is the next big thing. It's the current big thing, to be honest, but I'm a little nervous about where it's heading. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not anti-AI at all, but there's a fine line between AI being a tool that enhances the creative process and AI replacing the creative process. And that's where I worry that Microsoft might be headed, because if you pair these layoffs and canceled projects with their increased talks in efficiency and agility and AI enhanced development, it sounds less like they're trying to empower developers and more like they're just trying to streamline the process. And that's possibly at the expense of actual human creativity, which once defined the video game industry. I think AI can be an amazing tool for devs and, smarter systems, better accessibility, but I just hope Xbox doesn't lean on it so hard and we lose the soul of games, because at the end of the day, the best games come from people, not AI prompts. And if Microsoft's vision of the future is AI generated games with AI generated quests, procedurally assembled world and recycled assets, that's not necessarily a future of video games that I'm very excited for. But yeah, super interesting spot for Microsoft and Xbox right now. I'll be interested in seeing where things go over these next 6 months. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, and thanks for listening to this Yap session. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and besides for that, I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.